Thank you for Professor Hernan's invitation and my old friends and new friends warning. Very great honor for me to be invited to be here to share a book talk on my mentor, Professor Gu's educational thoughts on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the Center on Chinese Education at Teachers College Columbia University. Again, I will officially express my gratitude to Professor Chen Henan for providing such a remarkable platform enabling for our younger generation to continue contribute uh, to the path of the Sino-US educational exchange and cooperation, a path paved by Zhang Dui, by Hu Shi, Tao Xingzhi 100 years ago, and later by our mentor, Professor Gu Mingyuan, Meng Cang, and also Ming. Yesterday, he gave a wonderful talk over the last 14 years. Actually, this book was combined in honor of Professor Gu's 70 years of his educational career in 2018, published by the Educational Science Publishing House. And this book was edited by Professor Wang Yingjie. Professor Wang Yingjie is Professor Gu's first doctoral student, actually, who is also over 18, I think. Sorry, 18 years old. So Professor Wang initially pursued his doctoral studies at Stanford University, where Hank and so me and our mentor Moon also spent wonderful days over there, I think in 1970s. But then returned back to China to complete his degree after Chinese establishment of our own academic degree system. So he's not only Professor Gu's first doctoral student, but also the first doctoral graduate in the field of comparative education for PRC. So under Professor Wang's leadership, 12 leading educational scholars across China, definitely not including me, although I also make a chapter contribution, but not including me, participating this wonderful work. But due to the pandemic, during the translation and the publication process, so the English version, the Chinese version was published in 2018, and then the English version was finally published this year by Springer. You can see that on the table. So the translation work was, I have to say that the translation work was primarily undertaken by Ms. Zhou Han, the daughter of Professor Gu, and her involvement brought very significant advantages. Not only is she deeply familiar with both Chinese and Western cultures, but more importantly, she could answer Professor Gu directly during the translation process for those unclear and implicit meanings in the Chinese context. She always verified them through very deep conversation with Professor Gu to ensure the clear and accurate translation for the international readers. I definitely also made some work, just assistant her with some editing and also some academic terminology double check works. So in June this year, we held the English edition launch in Beijing. When I was there, and followed by a 4-day seminar on the Chinese independent knowledge system. Because this book is regarded not just as a presentation of Professor Gu's educational philosophy, but also as an achievement for Chinese independent knowledge system. Well, today, I have Mr. Yes. Yeah. Today, I title my presentation 不明远 contemplator and a practitioner of modern education. I know that within current Western discourse, the concept of modernization is closely related to the colonization, right? With some negative implications. But I still choose to retain this wording because it does reflect the Chinese development over last decades. More so that's the reason why currently China emphasizes the Chinese style of modernization, try to re-explain the meaning of modernization. And Professor Gu's personal journey itself serves as a testament for the modernization of the Chinese society. He was born in 1929. He experienced the Japanese invention in his early childhood. Due to the war, he changed 6 different elementary schools to finish his primary education. But he had a very wonderful time during the middle school at Nanjing High School, which is located in Jiangsu province. And he was lucky enough to have some wonderful great teachers, and also was exposed to some rational ideas, and I'm sorry, to some revolutionary ideas, and develop a determination to serve the nation through industrial development. So he determined to apply to the architecture department of Tsinghua University after the graduation from the high school. But unfortunately, he was not admitted for the first year. In order to support himself, he began to teaching at an elementary school in Shanghai, where he quickly developed a great passion for the education. So he decided to apply to Beijing University the second year, and his dream was soon realized. After enrolling, he even attended the ceremony of the establishment of People's Republic of China in October 1949. He was there on site. During his second year, he when we had a very close Sino-Soviet relationship, he was selected to study at Moscow. And after graduation, he returned back to China, to Beijing, and then worked at Beijing Normal University as a young scholar. And then later in 1956, sorry, it's not so clear here the screen, but you can tell that he was also sent to work in the a secondary school affiliated to Beijing Normal University. While then, as we all know, the Cultural Revolution started. Like many other scholars, he was sent to participate in some factory works. At the same time, he was also in charge of the high school affiliated to Beijing University. In the 1960s and 1970s. Here, 1978, Professor Gu once again devoted himself wholeheartedly to the modernization of our nation's education. He was involved in almost all the major important education reform and the policy making process in China thereafter. In late 1970s and the early 1980s, when there was a very urgent need to rebuild the whole education system, we know that history. And he led our team at the Institute of International Comparative Education at Beijing University to produce millions of words about the international education development chains. And this material significantly contribute to the formulation of a series of Chinese education law, regulation, and policies later on. It also played a very vital role in advancing and developing multiple academic disciplines, including definitely comparative education, and also education management and leadership, he was the founding leaders for education leadership in BNU. And then education technology and also special education. And in his career, especially the part which I'm highlighting, you can read it. He served, you can tell he served as a primary school teacher, secondary school principals, and then a university president. And also, because of such a diverse experience, make him one of the very few encyclopedia educational scholar in current China. After being selected as the president of Chinese Society of Education, he continuously listened to the voice of education practitioners, the teachers, principals, and as Henan mentioned, every day engaging in thinking, writing, publication, and promoting education reform. Even he is 96 years old this year. He published more than all of us in our institute. So Professor Gu has a quite rich international experience. This photo, the photo on the right side here, is from his student's age, and in 1976, I think this one, he served as a member of the Chinese delegations to represent the educational team attending the UNESCO General Conference for the first time after China returned back to the UN system. And during 1980s and 1990s, he also visited the US for several times, and also traveled to many countries, like many countries in European countries and Japan, Korea, Brazil, a lot of international travels. And also, I think part of the reason is at that time he served as the vice president of the Vietnam University and responsible for the international affairs and the local. So his engagement, however, was not just limited to the global travel. He also devoted himself to visit thousands of the primary and secondary school across China. Since I became his doctoral student in 2007, almost 20 years ago, right? Over the past 18, 19 years, I personally witnessed how he visits dozens of schools each year. And every Tuesday morning, that's the secret. I want to see the professor who come to Vietnam University, Indong Building 709 on Tuesday morning, you will find me, okay? So every Tuesday morning, principals, teachers, and also young scholars, students, and also education journalists from all over China will line up outside of our office and seeking his advice. He never refused anybody, always offering his patience and support, very strong support, especially for the young generation. We benefit a lot. So you can tell that that's the map. We try to figure out how many provinces they traveled. Just a step before Tibet, this footnote has reached almost every province in China. So in 2023, Nanjing High School, which is he graduated in Jiangsu, they undertook the project of establishing Mingyuan Education Science Museum to honor his legacy. In order to clarify his such a rich and profound intellectual contribution for the field of education, we tried to map his most important idea into this in this word cloud. And it's not an easy work because he keeps writing. So currently, I think he has more than 7 million or 8 million words of works. So amazing. But then we try to clarify that, try to map his most important idea into a whole picture. So centered to his understanding is the essence of the education. He emphasized that the essence of education is to enhance an individual's quality of life and the value of their life. It looks like very simple, but I have to say it's a journey for more than 40 years, 4 decades. Because in early 1980s, China, Chinese academies, they engaged in a very strong debate on what is the essence of the education. A core question was whether education should serve as an ideology struggle or class struggle at that time. That's the time when we just finished our Cultural Revolution and then just start the open up policies. At that time, actually, China's the whole focus of Chinese society has already shifted towards economic development in 1980s. After starting the educational development of different developed countries, Professor Wu proposed that modern education is the sequence of modern production, not just the so this modern education system include both capitalist or the socialist education. So Professor Wu in 40 years ago realized the importance of science, technology, which actually reflect the fundamental global chance, which link human capital to the whole education development since 1960s. While but it's still quite highly controversial, even risky. In late 1970s, I can tell some of our friends can feel that in that days. So after Professor Wu write a paper talking about this his idea, he was even criticized by a senior official in 1980s, early 1980s. But he heard very firm to this truth. He believed that's the chance for the whole global development. And he kept writing on the same topic and even deliver many lectures across the in different universities. I remember I count how many lectures he offers for the same topic during 1980, early years of 1980, more than 30 different lectures to advocate for it. Gradually, his idea gained a wide acceptance later. So upon this is the foundation of Professor Wu's idea. He discussed more about various educational relationships between the teachers, the students, the schools, society, the reform, and also between education concept and of philosophies with the institutional system. And currently, we also care about AI or those technology issues. He placed a very important emphasis on the students' ages, a view that aligns strongly with John Dewey. So that's I totally agree with you. He is in China. And of course, he also value teacher as well. He advocating to teach every lesson well and teach and educate every student as well. He often stated that providing the most suitable education for each student is the most important justice for their education. His education philosophy is also featured with a very clear and accessible feature natures, making it very easy for the education practices in the school to understand what he was talking. So his idea was deeply connected and widely welcomed by education, not just the scholars, but also practitioners at all different levels. In 2015, when UNESCO published a book, a report called Rethinking Education Towards the Global Common Goods, Professor Gu, at that time, he was already 86 years old. He immediately asked me for help to print it out because I need to download it. At that time, there's no Chinese version. I need to print it out and translate it into Chinese for his reading. His keen awareness of international frontiers still remains. After reading it, he read it very quickly, and he told me he agreed with UNESCO's idea. And he said that education must return to the focus on human being, both enhancing one's ability to live a quality life, a high quality life. Definitely, you need to have a capacity to find a good job to support yourself. But more important is education also need to encourage students, individuals to make contribution to the society, and thereby people can enrich their own life value through such kind of contribution. Shortly, he published a paper which is titled Re-examination of the Essence of Education and the Education Values in the Journal of Education Research, which is a leading journal in China. And this perspective was very quickly and widely accepted, and then translated into the widely circulated, nowadays we call it Mingyuan 4 disciplines, implemented in tens of thousands of primary and secondary schools, which is without love, there's no education. Without interest, there's no learning. Education lies in the details, and students grow through activities. So it's quite easy to understand. So a lot of schools they put these 4 sentences on the wall to remind all the students and teachers of what is education, what is the mission for the school. And among all these authors, you can tell that's the 12 chapters. Among all these authors of this book, some are Professor Gu's students, such as Gao Yiming, like Liu Meifeng, and also Meng Huanghuan, and also me. We are all Professor Gu's students. And other scholars are also wonderful scholars influenced by Professor Gu, like Professor Shi Zhongyi, Chu Hongqi, Guo Hua, and Professor Zhu Xudong, Liu Baochen, many other professors. They are leading professors in their own experts experts field nowadays in China. So actually, I think it's very hard nowadays to collect all these wonderful scholars together to just write in one book. It's I don't know whether we can do that in the near future, but I think in recent years it's almost impossible. So the process of writing each chapter was in fact a journey of self-improvement, as we discussed with each other. Just like Yuan states, it's a kind of dynamic interplay of interpreting the classes through our own lens, with our own experience, while enriching our own life through the classes. In Chinese is that 阅听助我，我助阅听. So as Professor Wang Jian noted in the preface, Professor Hu is a model both in academic and virtues. He lived by principle which Zhang Zai mentioned, 同取士聚, for the well-being of the world, for the life of the people, for carrying forward the excellent knowledge of our credentials and for the eternal peace of the world. 为天地立命为就是那四句话张载。So as a later comer, we look at his virtues and knowledges and strive to follow his principle, although it's just beyond our reach. And after the book's publication, many new very famous scholars and also school principals like the principal Li Xigui, the former principal of number 11 school, which is a wonderful school in Beijing. They wrote book review. And also, if you can tell for that one, is the book review by a teacher in a school. They also share their reflections on reading it. I believe in the process of reading this book, readers not just learn about Professor Wu's education philosophy, but also more importantly, definitely learn from his virtue. And also for me, I think what I want to share with you is I learned the methodology of Professor Wu's way of thinking, how to do the research, which I try to summarize into 5 points. But I know that must be more, but that's what I learned. Examining education from a broader context. When Professor Wu discussing education issues, he never limited education issues just in the field of education. He always concerned about the whole the social and the historical, context. So actually, I think during the pandemic, he also wrote a book. He finished writing a book in 12 days during the Spring Festival. Can you imagine? When we are watching TV, he was writing. And the book title was "Where's the Future of Education in China, Chinese education?" Because currently we talk a lot about the challenges, the problems that we are facing for Chinese education. And if you're going back, have gathering with your friends, especially the friends who have the children, parents always talk about education. One of the answers of Professor Wu is that education definitely we need to take our own responsibilities. But if just trying to find a solution in the field of education, there's no way. You always need to reflect the whole society. So quite similar to John Dewey, right? So I think I learned a lot from this one. And also he always tried to combine both historical and future perspective. Always trying to combine both global frontiers, which is definitely benefit from the background of comparative education and local solutions. And always being open-minded, always being very inclusive and innovative. I remember when we had the WeChat 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, I cannot remember. He's so quick to learn how to use WeChat. And also, how to say that's ball.
Sending red packet.
Yeah.
Red packet.
Red packet during the Spring Festival. So we're very happy as his students.
Electronically,
Right.
not the physical red packet, electronic.
Yeah. You can just kind of like notice. And also he always trying to integrate his idea with the actions, what he think, what he is saying, than what he is doing. So just like our Chinese philosophy, uh, 知行合一 and always keep pace with the time. I still remember several years ago, he asked me, 比特币. I haven't heard that before. So I quickly searched online and then told him, okay, that's the 比特币. So he learned very, very fast. Last but not least, I would like to express my millions of appreciation again. Because today, as Professor Fernand mentioned, today is Professor Wu's 96th birthday. Holding this book talk at TC, an institute with century Sino-Chinese legacies to share and disseminate Professor Wu's educational thoughts, I think maybe perhaps the most meaningful birthday gift we as his students could offer for him. Still, even for Beijing time, still 1 hour left, so still the birthday time. I sincerely wish Professor Gu a happy birthday and a healthy long life. And also best wishes for Center on Chinese Education, our academic home at TC, a bright future. Thank you.